slashing. Parasvadaha, being expert in using his weapon, the parashu or chopper. Manaha, like the mind. Anila, like the wind. Oja, being forceful. Parachakra, of the enemy's military strength. Sudanaha, killer. Tataha, there. Tata, and there. China, scattered and cut off. Puja, arms. Uru, legs. Kandara, shoulders. Nipetu, fell down. Uvyam, on the ground. Hata, killed. Sutta, chariot drivers. Vandanaha, carrier horses and elephants. Srila Prabhupada's translation and purport by His Divine Grace. Lord Parasuram, being expert in killing the military strength of the enemy, worked with the speed of the mind and the wind, slicing his enemies with his chopper, parashu. Wherever he went, the enemies fell, their legs, arms, and shoulders being severed, their chariot drivers killed, and their carriers, the elephants and horses, all annihilated. Srila Prabhupada's purport, His Divine Grace. In the beginning, when the army of the enemy was full of fighting soldiers, elephants, and horses, Lord Parasuram proceeded into their midst at the speed of mind to kill them. When someone tired, he slowed down to the speed of wind. When somewhat tired, he slowed down to the speed of wind and continued to kill the enemies vigorously. The speed of the mind is greater than the speed of the wind. Just this one verse, Prabhu?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes, just this one.
Okay, this is quite a slashing verse. Om Gyantimaranyasya Gananjanan Shalakaya Chakshuram Militam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual masters, kindly opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge, let us offer our respectful obeisances unto him again and again. And we ask everyone, please make a prayer. Please pray to Krishna to bless us, so that whatever we say here is only what we've heard from Guru and Shastra, with no inappropriate motivation and no distortion. We want to say what Krishna wants to say today. There's so many things we could say, but what do you want to say, Lord? To these particular devotees at this particular time, we're here on your behalf. We come together as a sacrifice to hear from the Srimad Bhagavatam, to glorify the Lord together, right? And we hope Krishna will be pleased by this humble effort. And we invite everyone. We all have a piece of the puzzle. Krishna, this is a collection of devotees, people who are practicing Krishna consciousness. And so we welcome your contribution, your comments, your angles of vision. Please feel free to unmute yourself and participate in the class. This is an interactive format. Okay, so this is punitive. Lord Parasuram, the Lord, is for the benefit of everyone, and even for the benefit of those who are acting in a devious way. He's chastising. He's eliminating their bodies, slashing quickly, powerfully, against formidable. Yesterday, we were talking about Akshahini divisions of soldiers, armies, and there was 17 that Pratavirja Arjuna sent against Parasuram, and it was not intimidated by being outnumbered. The Lord, how wonderful is Krishna? The Lord is more powerful than everyone. He's more beautiful than everyone. He's more wise than everyone. He's more merciful than everyone. And in this case, he's exhibiting his mercy. by the rod of chastisement. Interestingly enough, although the Lord is meting out justice, we see that in many cases, the Lord gives people a second chance. There's reconciliation, there's forgiveness. But whether he's slashing or forgiving, it's all done out of love, and it's all done for the benefit of the conditioned soul who's being chastised. That's an interesting concept, though. The idea of being a devotee, but maybe not being on the perfectional stage, and making a mistake or having a bad habit, which means you make the mistake again and again. And the Lord is merciful and forgiving. Remember the other day, Jamuna Jayamata, she said, I'm so relieved when you said, let's see what Krishna says. Because it's possible to give class and make many declarative statements that are, some of them completely Shastric and accurate, and some of them paraphrasing, and some of them even drifting a little bit off exactly how the Lord would express himself. So we want to say what Krishna says. We want to say it the way Krishna says it, because there's a certain precision of language. It's called Shastra Chakshus. It means seeing things through the eyes of Scripture. We don't always see things completely. We don't always see things precisely. But Scripture is very clear. Even if one commits the most abominable activities, Krishna says, if that person is engaged in devotional service, they should be considered to be saintly, and very soon they will become righteous. And Krishna is working in our lives. So we're hearing these stories through the 9th canto about people who do something less than perfect, not exactly pure devotional category activities, and yet Krishna continues to work in their life. In this case, he's working in their life by destroying their body. And if we think we're the body, then it seems cruel. It's difficult. You're going to hell and you're never coming back. You ever hear that? Andrea, ever hear that? You're going to hell and you're never coming back, right? That's not exactly what the way Krishna puts it. Although there is rectification, chastisement, punishment, it's for our upliftment. That's a very interesting angle of vision. Forgiveness, giving somebody a second chance, and allowing them to act on a lower level, and then gradually guiding them and helping them to choose a higher and higher level of activity. Any reflections on that so far? We welcome anyone to contribute. Andrea is there, yes? Who is that? Maharani? Mataji wanted to say something? You have to unmute yourself.
No, sorry, I was just turning my camera on.
Okay, that's all right. Welcome, welcome. So we were talking about forgiveness and Krishna giving people a second chance. Sometimes people do something in a devious way, and then they become discouraged. I'm not a pure devotee. I'll never be a pure devotee. I can't make it. I'm not going to make it. But that's not exactly the way we see things. We can understand that Krishna, how wonderful is Krishna, that he continues to, sometimes they say, give you enough rope to hang yourself. Not exactly what we want to say. It gives us the opportunity to learn and grow. Spiritual life is progressive, and not everyone is on the highest platform, but we want to remember that ideal. We don't want to be intimidated to hear that there is such a thing as another quality of existence. Shastra says, Parastas matu bhavan yoga tatsanatana, that in addition to the level of the material world, there's another level, there's another whole dimension of existence, and the quality of life there is different. And we can go there. There is access. There is a recipe. There's a process of purification, cleansing. We know that Scripture explains, Sri Rupa Goswami explains very carefully, how there's a level of offensive chanting, and then there's a clearing stage, and then there's pure chanting. So we go from one level to the next. Krishna is guiding us. Again, anybody has any comments, angles of vision, or reflections on what they heard? Reflection means you heard something and you said, yeah, right, that's a good thing to remember. That struck me. Right? Please, if anybody has any reflections.
I have a reflection.
Please.
So you said that there is, you quoted Guru Sadhu Shastra saying that there is such a level where you depend on Krishna. There's a different standard. And one shouldn't be intimidated by hearing that there is such a state of consciousness. But what to do if I am intimidated by that? What to do if I feel I'm not pure enough to get there, to be there? Therefore, I should allow a little bit of Maya here and there, since I'm not completely pure, since I'm not there yet. And that sounds scary, to fully trust Krishna. It does sound scary sometimes. How is Krishna going to pull this off? What about this? I have to, you know, we become worried, disturbed, concerned. What about, how do we do?
That's an appropriate question. And we may respond like that. But then we hear, Krishna says, Sarvadhaman Parityaga, do not worry, do not fear, do not hesitate. We hear that there's another choice, that there's another way that we can respond to hearing about something better. And so Krishna is very encouraging. And even if we don't subscribe to what Scripture says, even if we don't follow it, even if we don't believe it, the first level is just to hear it. Just hear what Krishna has to say. Alan, we're calling Alan Angel these days. Alan and I were having a discussion. And he was saying they should do this, they should do that. And there's something to be said for that. But the point is that in our first presentation, in our initial conversations with people that are approaching spiritual life, we tell them, we're not asking you to believe this or accept it or to follow it. We're just asking you to hear. And then at a later stage, what we hear begins to seep in, and we're rolling it around in our mind, we're ruminating, we're considering maybe, well, they say that you're not the body. They say, Scripture says, they can't argue with the fact that Scripture says it, it's right there. Scripture says, Scripture says the body is changing. The soul is going from one body to the next, from the body of a child to the body of a youth to the body of an elderly person. So they can hear that. And Scripture says, Shrinvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Ridyantasto Vabhadra Vidanoti Saritsatam. Krishna says in the second chapter, in the first canto, second chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, that by hearing from Scripture, the Lord, who is in the heart of every living entity, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of a person who is exposed to this message. You go into the sunshine, you get a suntan. You don't have to understand the physics. You don't have to believe it or not believe it. Just do it and watch. There's a process. There's a transformation that goes on, and you get a suntan. The sunshine works. Hearing from scripture works. It's recommended. Of course, we have to be careful not to be rash. We were talking the other day about how the story of those two brothers who came to the ashram of the guru, and they decided, our parents are gone, and one of the elder brother was saying, we have to go take shelter of the spiritual master in the process of devotional service. So they burned the house down, right? They even Narada Muni, after his mother left this world, he burned the house down, right? And we were talking about the conquistadors going into South America, and they tried to land in, and then the natives drew them back into their boats, and then they tried again, and they were driven. And finally, the leader, he said, "All right, let's go hit the beach, and we're burning the boats." Sometimes a military leader will do that. He'll burn the bridges. I think somebody else decided about it. Napoleon. I think he crossed one river and then he had them destroy the boats. He said, "Look, there's no going back." So we were concerned that maybe Andrea would burn the apartment down. And, we don't want you to be too radical, right? Take it seriously. It's a figure of speech. To go forward and to make a definitive step and say, I'm not going back. It's do or die now. I'm gonna throw myself into devotional service. Not 1 foot on the boat, 1 foot on the dock. I'm getting on there with both feet. And Krishna reciprocates. Krishna reciprocates with that wholehearted effort. As they surrender to me, I reward them accordingly. Krishna reciprocates when he sees your sincerity. And who was quoting? I think it was Ananda Vihari who was quoting the other day. We take a step toward Krishna, and he takes 1,000 steps towards us. And Krishna takes big steps. So Ananda Vihari is asking, very important question, what if you don't think you can go forward? What if you are discouraged by hearing about the platform you are isn't the best? What if you are, frustrated by the level you're on and you don't even believe there is another best? Okay, so you might be on that platform, but you can at least say, but scripture says there is a higher level. And scripture says you can go there. And Krishna is so wonderful that he's going to help us. Don't think that I will not complete the good work I've begun in you. That's what scripture says. Don't think I will not complete the good work I've begun. So we go on with confidence. Whatever level we're at, if we're doing our humble best, Krishna is pleased. That's our criteria. Is Krishna pleased? Sangsadiya Haritoshanam. So these are points that we've heard again and again. Again, we welcome comments and questions. I keep talking, so nobody gets a chance to say anything. Reflection? Yeah.
Purusha, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
I actually wanted to reflect back on something that you mentioned in the beginning, that when I first came to Krishna consciousness, one of the things that really inspired me was the mercy that Krishna was extending when I was fully explained about reincarnation. Because to me, as someone who grew up Catholic, I always felt that it was a bit cruel that we were only given one life. And if we didn't figure it out, with Catholicism, you have like purgatory, which I guess is like a little bit nicer than going straight to hell. You have like an option. But it seemed very cruel. And instead, to me, the idea of reincarnation, that if you don't make it, then you get another chance, and that there is always an opportunity to kind of put that kind of like spiritual money into your bank so that you can kind of build up to going into the spiritual world. It just feels so merciful that like he's just, and even if you end up in the hellish planets, you can always have a chance to go back up. So
Right.
to me, it feels like such a great example of Krishna's mercy, and it just makes more sense to me of a God that would do that as a like, to understand, like, you know, when we were growing up, we always said like God our Father, but you know, it just seemed like it was a very cruel father, and I just didn't want anything to do with him because he just seemed very mean and abusive, and just he was very jealous and always wanting, you know, the attention only to him, and if you didn't, you know, do things right, he just sent you to hell. Like, it was just very, very not a positive parental relationship. Instead of Krishna, I can see Krishna really, really, really loving as a parent, and Radha, wow. You know, I mean, though the Virgin Mary was always like, I felt like she was like that mother in the abusive parenting relationship that was just like, please just be nice to them. Like, it's okay. Like, they're going to be fine. So, you know, so anyway, I'm going off track, but I feel like Krishna really embodies, he really shows that loving parental relationship, and reincarnation in a very strange way to me was always the key point that showed that. Thank you.
Very good. When you say, it seems to me that Krishna must be nicer than that. The truth is written in everyone's heart. And when we hear the truth, we say, right, that's right, that's right. I remember that. Yeah, it's more like remembering. It's not like somebody's adding a coat of paint and adding something. We already know that. And when we hear it, hearing the truth is very pleasing to the ear and satisfying to the heart. That's what scripture says. So when we hear the truth, we can relax. And I find when some classes I hear, I have like a sort of bit of a filter, you know, wait a minute. They make so many statements and wait, was that true? Is that, wait, I'm not totally relaxed. And I was just remarking to Ananda Vihari that we're hearing class yesterday from Dina Bandhu Prabhu. And you just listen and you can relax because he's sincerely just repeating what he heard from his spiritual master and scripture. And you can let it all go into the heart, you know, and you're comfortable. And there are some people, when they give class, I feel a little less comfortable. Maybe it's me, or maybe sometimes they mix in a little something other than the absolute truth. And then there's a hesitancy to just accept everything blindly. But that's a good point that, you know, you felt comfortable to hear that. Ananda Vihari, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, can you elaborate a little bit on the qualities of speech for someone who is presenting the absolute truth? How it's supposed to be Shastra-based, how it's supposed to be pleasing to the hearer, not to turn anybody off. Can you talk on that a little bit?
That's why we're praying at the beginning. Several times in the last few weeks, I've been asked to give class with absolutely no 5 minutes notice, somebody couldn't come, and it puts me in that mentality. I really don't have anything to say, but please, everyone, pray to Krishna that Krishna will help me to say what's appropriate, what he wants. So when a person has that, why would not Krishna help them to say what's right? We never heard a class where Prabhupada didn't say, I'm born in the darkness of ignorance. This message, it's not something that I made up. I'm praying that my spiritual master will give me the grace. And it's by his grace that I'm speaking. And when somebody has that mentality, it's transparent. It's like speaking to someone on the telephone, they're speaking to you. But if they're speaking on the phone to someone else and the other person is presenting what they're saying, maybe they are saying it exactly, or maybe they're not. So that reality is there. And in the beginning of class, maybe I don't say this out loud, but I'm really praying to Krishna, let me hear what you want me to hear. Vaishya Shekhar Prabhu says sometimes, I'm here to be corrected. Now here is somebody serving as spiritual master. We were just watching some of his Vyas Puj homage yesterday. A lot of 3 of our helpers here from the kitchen and the guest program went out there. They've all been approved for initiation by Vaishya Shekhar Prabhu. And so we turned it on to listen. Did you? I don't know if anybody saw Gopal Chopra. What's his name? Gopal
Champu.
Yeah, Gopal Champu. He was the first one to read his Vyas Puj homage. So sweet. And we mentioned, this is a little radical, we mentioned to one devotee who has the Ridvik posture that these 3 new devotees went out there and the Vyas Puja is going on and he's accepted them to be disciples. And he started saying, well, nobody can be an initiated except by Prabhupada. He's not really a guru. I said, oh, but listen, hold it. Don't say that to me. You're asking for trouble if you say that stuff. Don't tell me my Prabhupada is not capable of training somebody else to serve as a spiritual master. You're minimizing Prabhupada by saying that. Don't say that to me. And he kept going, and finally I just kind of screamed at him. I said, I'm not listening to this filthy, ridiculous concoction. I have to let you go, and I hung up. But we have this possibility of being able to repeat what we've heard from the spiritual master. In which case, that is guru. Even little Saraswati, 5 years old, when she was telling people, do you know who Krishna is? Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. And Prabhupada said she is guruing. We did the analogies a little while ago. If you have a lighted candle, it's giving off light. The flame is giving off light and heat. And if you take that lighted candle and touch it to another candle that's not lighted, the other candle becomes lighted. And it's giving off light and heat. It's a functional definition. And by one candle, you can light 1,000 candles. And those candles can light candles. So this is a very simple analogy. Angel was saying the other day, the analogy of an apple tree. If you have an apple tree and it's making apples, and you take one of those apples and bury it, the seeds in that apple will produce another apple tree. And if that apple tree can't produce an apple that will produce another apple tree, it's dead. It's not a real apple tree, So Prabhupada is a real guru. His spiritual master inspired him to dedicate his life to Krishna consciousness. And Srila Prabhupada is inspiring others to dedicate their life to Krishna consciousness. So he is guruing. And those people who he inspired have the option, by following the same process that Srila Prabhupada followed, to actually light other candles. We offer another opportunity for reflections or comments on this point, which is controversial these days. Do you believe it? Yeah?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, on this point, I have so many things that I really appreciated from you today, but on this particular point, I really appreciated this counter argument to the Ritvic stance that by saying that Prabhupada was the only guru, you are implying that he did not have the capacity to create other gurus. So I thought that was a very compelling argument,
right.
That you're diminishing him in that by saying, you think you're glorifying him by saying that he was the only guru, but actually, unintentionally, you are diminishing him by saying that. So I thought that was a beautiful point.
Simply true. On the other hand, we appreciate the person with the Ridvik stance who has an extraordinary regard for Srila Prabhupada. There's nobody like Prabhupada. There is nobody like Prabhupada. And that's true. And you go to the pharmacy and they have these Father's Day cards, and there's a whole stack of them, and you read the first one and it says, world's greatest father. You ever see that? Right? And right behind it, if you take that card, there's another card that says world's greatest father, right? So a real disciple will think like that. My guru, there's nobody like my guru. You know, that's wonderful, you know, but like you said, there's not only is he wonderful, but he's so wonderful that he is capable of lighting another candle and passing it down. Somebody else, I think Jamuna Jaya, I want to become like Jamuna Jaya when I grow up. What did she say?
Oh, no.
Don't we all, right?
No, I want to be like you if I ever grow up. I just wanted to comment. My comment is very simple, but as I'm listening, you're giving such a beautiful blueprint about how to speak about Krishna. About your points are always so on the ball. You always go right to the heart of it. We're here to please Krishna. Let us look at the books and says what Krishna says. And so I always feel like you're, you know, when on a map, they have that thing that says you are here. It's a big red arrow, right? I feel like you're always giving us that you like, keep your eye on the ball. This is what pleases Krishna. Let's hear what Krishna says. Let's try to live our life to please Krishna. Let's not make it up, you know? So I'm just really always appreciating how much you keep us on track. You keep the focus where it really should be. So I thank you so much for that.
Accept your appreciation, and I say, all glories to Prabhupada. Because this is what he taught us, you know? And also, you guys make your prayer in the beginning of class, and that's why I'm able to say anything. You must be saying, Krishna, please, this guy, he needs your help. Show him what to say, you know, it's good. So that's why it comes across like that, because you're praying, our intention is there, and Srila Prabhupada is telling us, do like this. It's so simple.
There's nothing like hearing one devotee glorifying another devotee, glorifying Krishna and Prabhupada. So wonderful. I want to be like Jamuna Jaya also.
No, I want to be like you
Put that
guys.
out there.
Because beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. You ever hear that? Beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. So,
Hare Krishna, Adi Purusha. I actually have a question. I also appreciated the way that you kind of defended Prabhupada with the Ritvic stance. And I just wonder if with that same idea of thinking that Prabhupada is not guru enough to create other gurus, wouldn't that also then apply to the fact that we still don't have approval for female Diksha gurus? Because what is it about, Prabhupada had so much potency that he wanted to empower all his disciples, no matter what kind of physical bodies they had, because he saw their souls.
very good point. The point is, guruing is a verb, and anyone can do it. Any age, any degree of education, any degree of, you know, what kind of gender body you have. We don't have woman guru. You're not a woman. Someone thinks, I'm a woman, and they're not guru. You're not this body. And that's a very important point. As soon as somebody is saying in class, I'm a woman. No, you're not a woman. Don't be ridiculous. You know, I have a woman's body, you know, and also the feminine aspect is very much appreciated. That feminine means trying to give pleasure. And we are all feminine compared to Purusha, Krishna. Krishna is the enjoyer. We are the enjoyed. We're the one giving enjoyment to the Purusha. So feminine is not bad. Even when Chaitanya was accepting the feminine aspect, you know, the highest devotees of the gopis of Vrindavan who were, you know, exhibiting a feminine sort of relationship with Krishna. Atthena, please, what do you have to share with us?
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranams. I originally wanted to ask about the Ritvik, but I wanted to comment also on Andrea's question, and hopefully I'd love to hear it if anyone else has thoughts around this. But it's interesting about how women are not allowed to be gurus, but if you look at some other traditions, the way that they defend it is that I'm gonna say unfortunately, but in the nature of kind of man and woman, man really lusts after woman. And so, in one sense, also having a female guru, not having them as guru, is to protect them because the man disciple could always lust over the female guru. And so you see in other traditions, whether it be there's no female imams, they're not allowed to, I guess, lead call of prayer because it's mainly men. And even in the spectrum of spirituality, historically, it's been men who have been practicing. And so we don't want to go into the I guess the relationship of but I don't know if that lands for anyone, but in one sense it's a protection for the woman. Any thoughts on that first before going to the Ritviks?
I would have thought this is a scriptural reference. What does scripture say? Scripture says, Triyo Vaishas Tita Sudras Tepi Anti Parangatim. Doesn't matter what your physical or birth situation is. If you're willing to obey the spiritual master, you can go to the highest level. Anyone, woman, Vaishya, Shudra, can go to the This is a fact. Any candle that's been lit by a lit candle can light another candle. Oh, there's no impediment. Organizationally, institutionally, there may be certain structure, but that's not going to stop anybody from speaking the truth. That's not going to stop anybody from saying, scripture says this. As soon as somebody does that, they're guruing. It's a functional definition. But again, as long as I think I'm a woman, what's that? I have a female body, but I'm not this body. I'm this soul, servant of Krishna. Jeff, what do you have to say there?
Bhima, Haribo Prabhu.
Oh,
This is Bhima Das. Yes, this wonderful one. I love attending. What's that?
You are my guru.
Yeah, that's a funny one.
My lifetime.
Well, on that particular point, I'd just like for all of us to try to remember, and from Shastra, that Mother Yashoda was a woman, and Draupadi was a woman, and Queen Kunti, who is the guru of us all, was a woman, and Radharani is the divine source and reservoir of all that is feminine and full of love. So this is the guru. The guru is Bhakti Rup, love personified, and it's feminine. So Matajis don't have to worry about we have female gurus all around us. That's all I want to say. And nature, Mother Nature, my God, Mother Nature, I'm in it all day long. And what a guru. Haribo.
What was that? Was it Nityananda's wife? What's her name?
Janavi.
Janavi, right. And she was, and one of the Goswamis said, oh, I cannot meet with women. And she said to him, I thought Krishna was the only Purusha in Vrindavan, She defeated him. And
Mirabai. That's apparently legend of Mirabai, though the years of their births don't coincide to that type of relationship having happened. But it's just it's the point. It's the point in the principle of the thing, and that is even Shiva, before observing the rasa dance, had to immerse himself in oh my God, the kund, Manasorova, right? Am I
don't know.
correct?
I don't know.
Radharani's tears, the Kund, the lake. Shiva had to dip himself in that in order to become feminine, in order to be an observer and a protector of the Ras. Arjuna and Narada both, in order to observe the Ras, had to become feminine. So ultimately, it's sort of an open secret that Guru is feminine. Our Guru is the Saki. She helps Radharani. We have feminine gurus. We have woman, so to speak, gurus, because that's what you need to be to bring other souls into contact with Krishna. So the female presence, the female divinity is what we're following already. And anybody who claims to be, I'm a man guru, just blew it. Anyways, I speak too much. Haribo.
Athena, you have something else to say?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Before Athena goes, can I just comment on this so that we don't lose the continuity?
Yeah.
Yeah, so when we cite the females in the spiritual world as evidence that, there are there we can have gurus in a female body, the question that came up for me was, is it really appropriate to cite females in the spiritual world as evidence? Because, they aren't females in the way jivas here are females. They have female forms, but they're not females. So in other words, I'm just trying, excuse me?
Question.
Excuse me?
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
And Athena also. What is Guru? What does he do?
A guru to me is somebody who is able to help a jiva cultivate his loving relationship with Krishna.
Sure. And is showing by example. And is surrendered to his guru. Right? So is there any impediment to that? Can anybody tell you can't chant Hare Krishna? Can anyone tell you can't choose to follow Four Regulative Principles? Can anyone tell you can't read Prabhupada's books? Can anyone tell you can't tell other people what's in those books? This is our activity. These are our criteria. And we have a program distributing Krishna's Prasad for the homeless. So I have to sign off here, but it looks like Atthena has one more thing to say.
Hare Krishna. Well, might launch into something deeper was on the controversial topic on the Ritviks of whether or not truly, if just because they don't take a living spiritual master, quote unquote, they are performing devotional service. They are chanting the holy name. They are sincerely trying to serve, say, Prabhupada and loving Krishna. So are they not considered bona fide? And I know that's a controversial topic.
Krishna sees all that.
Right. I just know from our ISKCON sometimes, they don't recognize, and there's controversy, and I would argue that, they're still tied to the parampara, and it's in Vani versus say Vapu, and ultimately it's the heart and intention, and they're still performing devotional service, they're still chanting the holy name, so they can go back to Godhead. So it's not, anyway, so I would just argue that even though it, I would say, deviates a little bit from our, I would say, our philosophy of making sure you take initiation from a living spiritual master, because then you could also say my spiritual master is Jiva Goswami, my spiritual master is, so I think that's the concept. But still, ultimately, if they're sincere and they're performing devotional service, they can go back to Godhead.
Right, no matter what you call it. If it's got horns and a tail and another hoofs, it's a cow. So people sometimes get so caught up in the words, but Krishna is so wonderful that he sees the sincerity. And if there's anything that we're doing that's not quite spot on, he'll help us to correct and come to the highest platform. Now you guys can continue, and Nanda Bihari will conduct any other discussion, but I have to go. Okay, all glories to Prabhupada, Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for praying for me. Nanda Bihari, you taking over now?
Hare Krishna, we can wrap up unless we have comments or reflections.
You can keep going if you want to, but I have to jump out. All glories to Prabhupada, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Adipusha Prabhu. Thanks everyone for contributing to class. So, do we have any further comments, reflections, controversies?
Ananda Pura, I guess I'll make this last point. And I really loved, was it Bhima that Prabhu had said it? And even Ada Purusha. And just to clarify, I don't think it's saying that women can't be guruing. Absolutely. It's, of course, we're not this body. I think Andrea's question and my response was to the more, I'm going to call it surface level or on a different dimension of why we don't see women as Diksha gurus, actually initiating one's aspect. But of course, that's not even that important. But of course, I thought all the arguments or just are reflections of how there are such upstanding personalities in female nature or roles that are great gurus, because gurus shed our ignorance and they are leading us kind of back to Krishna too. So, but I think I don't think it was addressed, but perhaps the way I interpreted Andrea's question was why we don't see women female dikshas, and that my response was to that. And I think ultimately, though, it doesn't matter. And if you are sincere in serving Krishna, it doesn't matter if you're actually initiating, quote unquote, or taking on disciples. And that's even a bigger, I think, conversation around that. But that was kind of my last line of thought. I don't know if anyone else has any thoughts around that. Thank you.
Thank you, Athena. Thank you very much. Your comments are always very thoughtful, thought-provoking. I'm sure that Srila Prabhupada set up GBC, he set up the society, he set up people in charge. And I'm sure on the organizational level, on the management level, this female Diksha Guru will be figured out. It's just Srila Prabhupada set up excellent system in place. And his final instruction on his, before he departed from this world, so to say, was to cooperate. So I'm sure if devotees cooperate and with all the managerial instruments in place today, I'm sure that will be figured out in due course.
Actually, can I get a little clarification from Athena about, I missed one point you were saying when in connection with female Diksha gurus, what were you saying was unimportant?
Oh, that it ultimately one, even as feel like, why, even in the context of like, okay, well, why can't females be Diksha gurus and initiate? But ultimately, none of that actually, see, kind of like taking a higher level point of view, none of that really matters. And if women are saying like, I need to be a Diksha guru, like that, you know, what is that supposed to show? That's more of the ego, right? It's like, I want to create disciples. I'm going to create followers. And even I think CC says one shouldn't try to increase, their disciples. If you're sincere, ultimately, you just want to spread the message. You want to bring people to Krishna. It doesn't matter if you have disciples. So that was what I was kind of saying. If there's any reason of why, say, there's a female who wants to be a Diksha guru, right? I would say in one sense that seems a little more on the ego level, that because ultimately it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're recognized as an initiating guru. It doesn't matter if you actually have formal disciples. If you're spreading the message and you're sincere, that's what you really care about. And bringing people to Krishna. That was what
I'm thinking that it might become important if, because it is Krishna's system that a person take Diksha initiation. So if there is a particular female who has disciples who want Diksha initiation and who want it from her, and they are not able to because, you know, female Diksha gurus are not allowed, then I think it does become important, you know, because then you are hindering an aspiring disciple's progress.
So I think you're talking on a different, I guess, perspective, and absolutely, I can agree with that. I'm saying from the perspective of, say, a woman wanting to be specifically why, like if, like her motivation of why wanting to become Diksha. And this goes for anyone, even male too. Why do you want to become Diksha? If it's for your own personal ego, then that's a different story. That's not the reason why you want to. Understood
Well,
that
that person isn't even qualified to be a guru.
Right. I don't want to get, I feel like there are maybe, of course, some people's, not completely free of the ego, they want to build disciples, you know, whether you sense that from certain gurus or not. But right, from a theoretical perspective, they should not even be qualified to be gurus. But also being a Swami means you're completely in control of your senses. And we know not all Swamis in the history have been in control of their senses, but they still become it. So I mean, this is completely different.
On a technicality, you know, I mean, yeah.
I agree with your perspective. I think the one thing I would add is, so yes, if someone, if say Draupadi or Queen Kunti is able to accept disciples, I mean, I'm sure she would have like a whole line of people waiting to get initiated. So absolutely to your point that if someone wants to take her as Habita Diksha, you know, all pure intentions, then your point is that they should. I think maybe even what Adi Purusha Prabhu would say is that they could accept her as guru, not quote unquote formally on paper as Diksha, but they can see her as, well, you can even say Shiksha guru, but as like inspiration, and take her lessons and her learnings and her teachings and let that guide them. My point that I was drawing, and not saying that this is absolute, but bringing in a concept from other religions of why perhaps women don't become kind of at the forefront and accepting male followers, is that naturally, if you even look in the Vedic, you know, concept, women need to be protected. Women from by nature are quote unquote, I don't say subservient to men, but male, you know, they're supposed to protect the women. They're a little more aggressive. They, you know, and sorry, even I don't want to become so gross, but in modern day, right? The rapings are of women, not men, right? Men from nature are just stronger and they're able to, you know, put women under, what is it? What's that word? It starts at
Duress.
What was that?
Men are able to put women on duress. Under duress.
Okay, duress. Right, even from a frivolous perspective, but it's not subservient, but they're able to subjugate, say hypothetically subjugate women, right? Just from a natural nature perspective. And so if you take that, then it might be hard. Not that from a pure intention, but then you see that we're in Kali Yuga, and as time goes on, maybe at the start, I'm just posing something that at the start, right, male who take initiation from females, it's all pure. They see them as mother. But as time goes on, there is, I would say, a high chance that there are going to be men who are lusting after maybe this woman or something. And then maybe the parameters are, you know, women, Diksha can only take female disciples. I don't know. But I'm saying I think perhaps a reason other than that historically, even the Vedic concept, men are the ones who take to spirituality. And that's why historically, previously, not now, the man would learn from guru, and the husband was the guru of the wife, right? That is why. And even in other religions, right, women are not quote unquote required to go to this prayer. They're not required because they have the kids, they have the house, you know, so, and it was the man that was interested in self-realization, right? And you see that in the Vedic concept. So now as times have changed, right, it's women can have gurus. They, of course, they can take initiation, and now they have a spiritual master. It's not their husband being their guru, but the nature's still there. And so therefore, if you were to give females that diksha, there is that slight chance, right, and probably highly probable that they're putting them in a you know, what is it? Not compromised position, but the man can lust after women. And you see that even in other religions where females, and it's not to say that they're lower, or pray behind the men. Why? Because women are bending down. Even if you're completely covered, men can have their minds. Sorry, they're like dogs, right? And if the female standing in front of them, right, and they're bowing down to do a prayer, what thoughts go through? And that's why women and men are separated, right? There's an area traditionally, even Vedic culture, right? There's a side for women, there's a side for men, so men aren't distracted because they're naturally like dogs. Sorry, unless you're in full consciousness, that's a natural nature in one sense. So therefore, the reason why I can see two parts why women are not diksha specifically, not that they can't guru and they can't provide teachings and they can't be that guiding light, is that from a gross, more material perspective, men lust after women, and it puts them in a compromised position because they're super protected and men can subjugate women, and who knows what things would happen. Anyway, so that's what I'm saying perhaps is a reason, and who knows what the future will hold and what rules or what parameters might be put on to protect women. I'm not sure, but that was in response to what I think what Andrea was saying of why there's no female gurus. Gurus in the sense of diksha, initiating gurus. That's how I interpreted it. And that was my response to that. Thank you.
This one's on fire.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. We're going to wrap this up. Thank you very much for contributing and speaking. That's a very important topic, should be addressed. It will be in due course, I'm sure. We'll see you tomorrow here on Zoom. Let's not forget that Krishna is real. Let's go through our day with this understanding and let's put this to practice and see how it actually works. Krishna gives all the answers before the questions are even asked. If the devotees cooperate and keep this humble state of mind, state of consciousness, like Lord Chaitanya prays like that. Okay.
Do you know who's speaking tomorrow?
Who's speaking tomorrow? Let me see.
Or do you have the schedule for the rest of the week?
Yeah, I do. Give me a second. Okay, tomorrow is His Grace Ganesham Das.
Oh, nice. Mm-hmm.
And tomorrow is Srila Prabhupada's arrival in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So we will encourage Ganesham to speak on that.
Mm-hmm. And okay. You have the rest of the week too?
Okay, so Ganesham followed by Chaitanya Charan.
Oh, nice.
Two days in a row.
Yes.
The Vedic scholar.
Yes.
And then it's October 1st is Shyama Kishori, is the devotee from Florida. Then Ekadashi on Saturday, Achyuta Gopi. And then Sunday, Jamuna Jaya.
Wow.
Debuting in this Sangha.
Okay. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Okay. Thank you, Gail. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.